welcome to the Centre Court MBA Festival. As part of the event, we look to speak to some of the leaders of the top business schools, and I'm delighted to welcome Leila Guerra, who is the Associate Dean of Programs at Imperial College Business School. Leila, thanks for joining us at Centre Court. I'm struck as you look at sort of the history of business schools, you know, Harvard and the case study nearly 100 years ago. But we talk increasingly about this sort of convergence of business and technology, and a business school like yours that has this relationship with Imperial College. So what sort of difference does that make to the culture and the learning and opportunities at Imperial College Business School?
Thank you. I think, as you rightly say, for many years there's not been a significant change in the business school world. We've moved on, we evolved, but the world evolved quicker. And what happened now with technology coming and with more and more students and stakeholders demanding the flexibility across industries, across learning, is that we needed to take advantage of that. And schools like Imperial College Business School were right in the front of where that actually could happen. We're a technology-driven institution. We are surrounded by STEM, and we are now in a place, and I think many more business schools are now also doing that, where we can offer our students not just the MBA learnings or the master's learnings, which are still core, but also these opportunities around technology and how that shapes their experience and how that transforms their careers later down the line. So yes, it's a very exciting moment, and Imperial is really well suited for that.
Now, I've heard you use a phrase to describe this convergence at the STEMBA. And of course, whether it's life sciences, technology, the school is innovating in many different ways. So how does that sort of feed into the full year experience in the MBA program?
Yes, it's something I adapted when I joined 1 year ago, and we were talking about the MBA and its future. And you have seen all these articles around, is the MBA still alive? Where will it go? And from my perspective, for many years, business schools were trying to just define the same model. And when we were trying to do it differently, it was all kind of, very, very low radar and not being very bold about who you are. And for me, it's actually on the contrary. You need to be bold about who you are and what you are going to bring. And so the STEMBA is a name that reflects that precise crossroad between the MBA world and the STEM environment that you can find at college. And so you will definitely hear more about that. It will change the way we offer innovation. It changes how technology should not just be one product, a MOOC, an online degree. It actually needs to redesign completely our experience at higher education, and it will also address the leadership skills that are needed in today's world.
How does that reflect perhaps changing ambitions that MBA students have as they sort of make predictions about their career 5, 10, 15 years from now, whether it's fintech, and of course your position there, or this sort of crossover of technology into so many parts of industry. Where do you think they want to go in the next 5 or 10 years with their careers?
I think their ambitions have already changed, and the recruiters' ambitions have already changed. We used to talk about a career in finance, a career in consulting, but for the last 5 to 10 years, you're hearing about the jobs that don't exist anymore in the future, the millennials changing, I think, 20 times in their life, jobs. And so where we need to prepare them is for that flexibility, but also to have the skills that will be required for that journey. They're going to have a 100-year life, I hear. How can we have that lifelong learning experience, and how we can bring technology to that need? And so their career demands and their skill demands have changed. And I think we again need to be, all the business schools and Imperial, of course, we need to be leading on that. We need to prepare them for that. And if we don't do that, then besides the academic excellence, we're potentially failing them. We have to do that.
Now, if we're all going to live to 100, there might be an opportunity for a post-exec MBA at some stage in our careers. But already, as people try to think about the right program for me, you offer an online master's in business analytics. You have the master's in international management, the MBA experience. What is your advice for individuals in terms of the course at this stage of their career and how they can make the right choice?
I think for me, there's actually two answers. There's a program for each career stage. We have the pre-experience programs now being dominantly a trend, even in the US, even in Asia, they're picking up. That allows you to have this first track into your career. The MBA still makes very, very much sense as a transfer across industries, as a fast track in that career. And then later down the line, you do executive MBAs, executive education. So there is, in our case, there is a need to also offer cross-academic opportunities. You want to do business analytics, you want to do fintech, you are interested in strategic marketing. Instead of having just individual courses, it makes more sense to offer cross-program opportunities, cross-generational opportunities as well. You will go into a workplace where you're working with a 20-year-old and a 45-year-old and a 60-year-old. How can we prepare that? But the second answer on that is, if you look at myself, I did a MIM and I did an executive MBA. And I'm thinking already, so what's next? If you go into higher education, you just enjoy it so much. You build your networks, you build your academic excellence, you build your professional skills, that we need to offer something that can be longer, and that's where the lifelong learning comes in.
You mentioned millennials and their choices. And perhaps the online MBA is something for these digital natives. I'm unfortunately a digital adopter, that feels natural to them to learn, when they want and where they want. What part of the business education market do you think the online MBA will take? Will it challenge the full-time MBA?
No, we haven't seen a challenge. Our online MBA is very successful. It's one of our flagships. It has its own methodology, and it benefits all the other programs as well via their digital innovations. So particularly for us at Imperial College, we have not seen that. But actually, if you look at the global markets, more and more students are looking for flexibility, and they're looking to adapt their careers to the educational needs. And so in Asia, we're seeing more and more students wanting to have these online programs, and the online MBA really suits them well. In Africa, for us, in many countries, we are underrepresented. We would want to have more students from those regions, and they are choosing the online MBA as a very viable option. But there's a second element to that, which is the online MBA is allowing us to be bolder about innovating, about introducing digital innovations that benefit all the other programs. And we talk about millennials, but Gen Z, they're already there, and they are already asking us, look, I don't want a digital, just one immersive experience. Digital needs to be in everything you do, because that's how I live my life. How can we prepare our programs so that that happens?
You, from your own experience, this idea of returning to business school after an initial pre-experience master's, European schools have done very well in the last 2 or 3 years with the one-year program. Yes. And of course, you're the #1 ranked one-year program in London. What is the appeal of 1 year versus 2 years? You're investing in yourself. Can you fit everything into that 1 year?
I think the other question would be, can you be away of your professional or personal journey for 2 years in the way we're living at the moment? I think for me, 1 year is a very immersive, very accelerated experience. It is designed in such a way that you are constantly doing things, and that is definitely a fair point. But again, technology comes in. You're now having pre-programs, you're having digital offering, you have online electives that get offered to you once you're an alumni. So the one-year MBA is becoming, now in our case at least, something that offers you then later down the line many more things. So I was in the US 2 weeks ago, and you have many more of the US schools now actually saying, maybe we should move to the one-year model, and maybe again, Gen Zs, millennials cannot anymore afford or have so much digital offering in their rest of the world that actually they don't need a 2-year program.
Has that digital learning meant that you can also shift courses on discounted cash flow to sort of a digital platform, and then place more emphasis on experiential
yes.
learning in the full-time experience? How has that affected the program?
Well, experiential learning started many years ago, and at the beginning, I think it was more of the student experience part. Let's do field trips. Let's do a project. But now we are going back to the flexibility that I keep mentioning, and it's about bringing the environment. I mean, we're surrounded here in London's vibrant financial city. How can we bring that into the classroom? And the academic content, how can it be enriched, and how can I make your learning experience being adapted in such a way that it's going to hit and impact positively directly your professional journey? So the experiential, in our case, shapes everything we do. It goes from working in entrepreneurial projects. It goes with working on consulting projects with the key companies that maybe later down the line will recruit you. It, yes, has the global element to it. You'll still have your field trips. You do your international exposure. But we're also now even thinking our learning and teaching strategy right now is already showing, and research substance that experiential will become the dominant way of teaching.
You have some of your colleagues, Crystal and others from the admissions office. Imperial actually compares very favorably to other top European business schools in terms of gender balance. And US schools have put great resource into this. It's clearly a priority for European business schools. It matters. Why does it matter?
It's, well, there's me personally, because I think it's the way it should be. Companies should reflect gender balance. The world is gender balanced. Why it matters for us personally is we have a personal commitment for many years now on bringing gender balance, on bringing female via higher education into their fast track of their career, into their next step. That has gone in many, many ways. It's not just scholarships. It's building an environment where female can see role models, where female students can understand, female faculty, female staff can understand and can experience that they're in a safe place where actually they're going to learn more, but they're going to actually be also respected, and that this is not even a discussion anymore. It just needs to be gender balanced. So many of our programs do have the 50-50 gender distribution, or almost are there. And I was just discussing with one of your colleagues, why is that? And I think it's really because of all the actions. I cannot single out just one of them. We will continue doing all of our priorities around gender balance and diversity. If you look at even our senior management, it's female dominated. If you look at where we are now hiring, we're trying always to keep that in mind.
So as you then sort of look into a crystal ball in the next 5 or 10 years, you've already worked at 3 of the world's top business schools. Where do you see the MBA heading in the next 5 or 10 years, including perhaps that pipeline of all these talented women now in the MBA program that themselves will be in senior management roles in the next 5 to 10 years? So what will the MBA look like 10 years from now?
I think I was doing a presentation the other day, an advisory board, and I mentioned that 7 years down the line we might not have a program as defined as it is at the moment. I think the MBA is certainly not dead. I can say that. And I've seen many headlines in the US, right, it's dead, it's dying. No, certainly not. I think it will move to a more flexible, more technology-driven program. We will not longer differentiate as we do at the moment with an online MBA, a face-to-face MBA. No, all the MBAs will have a digital footprint. I think there will be more cross-generational, as we said. The STEM environment will be brought more into the classroom. We will have to find ways of also assuming what's currently happening in the markets and how we can shape society and how we can influence that. And what's happening currently on the macroeconomic trends is something that business schools need to say, what did we do about this? How could we help shape that? Did we talk to our students around ethics? Did we talk about social responsibility? Did we address climate change? And all of these things, the MBA is still a very well suitable program to define it and to incorporate that. But it also requires us to be bold and to be addressing the challenges that are happening in the society and not ignoring them or saying that doesn't have to do with me. No, we do have a role to play.
Last year, the EdTech Lab within Imperial College and the Business School produced a hologram,
Yes.
which enables an individual to make a presentation, speak to a group from anywhere in the world. Technologies like that, you think that we'll continue to see that?
I think so, but at the end of the day, it wasn't so much about the hologram. It was about breaking barriers. It was about trying to reach all the talent, all the the potential students that are everywhere in the world and that have not heard about higher education, cannot afford an MBA, or would like to hear of a more diverse perspective. And the hologram for us was a way of having two people from the US in different locations and people from London discussing around a career in high tech. But I got right after that people telling me, well, why are we teaching doing business in Asia, or why are we talking about Africa here in London? Why can we not just via the hologram bring them, loop them in, and have them address your students? And that will shape their mindset in a more diverse way. And we're going back to the role models. We will be able to offer a more global role model. And that's the exciting thing about technology. So for me, holograms, yes, it's amazing. I'm really proud that we did that. But it was more about, we just broke a barrier. It's not anymore you're doing it on the phone and there's, you're doing it on all these amazing technology. You see that person. You can actually bring anyone in the world now to one place and have 5 different perspectives, and they all have to be there without traveling, without the obstacles that you might find physically.
Well, perhaps the Centre Court of 2020 will have holograms, but we're delighted you could be with us in person for today.
That's true.
Leila, thank you very much for your time, and thanks to the global audience that's been following us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.